Well, last time Peter was about to ask some more questions, I know, as I rounded it off rather abruptly. So, get stuck in, sir.
Right, so the wilderness. These are examples that we've been going through have been biblical examples. And I wonder if God is omnipresent, meaning that he's everywhere. Is he in the wilderness with the people in the wilderness because he's everywhere? And why is it that the people in the wilderness might not realise he's there?
Okay.
And that's sort of my thoughts, but you can share your own thoughts
Now,
about it.
well, first of all, before I share mine,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, what does Peter think? Does he think that God is there in the wilderness with the person?
Yeah. Well, my thought is God is everywhere, but not necessarily inside each spirit of each person. And it's our job to open ourselves up to God being everywhere. Because I think for people that are non religious and don't have God in their lives, they've got their own sort of what a religious person might call like a holy temple or something. But it's, I think God is everywhere, but not inside the people unless they open themselves up.
Well, I think we do have to open ourselves up, and I think in the wilderness there are times when we don't feel like we can ever get anywhere. We're in such a dark place in a way, or a wild place, or
Yeah.
not a place we want to be. So even those who feel that they might have been with God might feel a little bit empty and almost like, where are you, God?
Yeah.
But in all of that, what you're saying, I would agree with, that he's omnipresent, he's there, and it's how much we want to acknowledge the fact that he's there, even if it feels like it's not good. Which is why at the end of the last talk, I mentioned that it's good to be thankful, even when we're in the places that seem absolutely the pits. So I don't know whether we've unpacked that one, but
A little bit.
I also just wanted to come back. Last time you also mentioned the idea of the external and internal wildernesses, and I think there's a little bit there, just a thought on this, that sometimes where we're in places that are wild or seem destitute or seem
Yeah.
difficult in a physical sense, maybe a desert or
Yeah.
whatever, that they can coincide with us feeling really low, but they may not. Sometimes we might be in a brilliantly great place when we're physically in the wilderness,
Yeah.
externally in the wilderness, but internally, and they could be one way or the other. Sometimes we're in a place that's not like a desert, but we might
Yeah.
internally be in a wilderness, spiritually or emotionally or whatever. So it does beg lots of thoughts about two aspects of what it means to be in the wilderness. So good point you made last time, I think, there, and
Okay,
lots
thank
for
you.
people to think about. In the meantime, anything else on that first? No? Yes?
What do you think about, say, one story that's been mentioned, or we're about to mention in this series, the Israelites in the desert? Were the Israelites internally in the wilderness as well as the desert?
Well, the Bible gives certainly a distinct impression that they kept railing against God because they
Okay.
couldn't have the comforts that they had before,
Yeah.
and wondered why they'd been put there when it just went on and on and on. So I think there is a bit of that.
But God still provided with the manna from
He
heaven.
did. He still kept sending things, and then they acknowledged it for a while and thought, wasn't this great? But
Yeah.
actually, they kept slipping.
Yeah, so you can almost in your life get provided by God but take it for granted.
Yes,
That happens.
I think that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I think even in daily things where we're not in a wilderness, we might not acknowledge that God's at work.
But
We had something lovely in a previous existence, if you like, before we came to Cornwall. We used to do something where we encouraged people to have what we called cloister moments, which were those moments a bit like in a monastery where you walk up and down a cloister around a quadrangle often, and you might bump into another monk or another person who was staying at the monastery at the time. But they would be unplanned meetings and maybe conversations where they were allowed to have them, that where God was in them, and you didn't realise that this was going to happen, but it was a very blessed moment. And it's
Yeah.
easy to sometimes carry on and ignore them and maybe not take note of what the person has said or done. And we were encouraged at that time to dip into that thought process when we were out, say, shopping or walking, or where we bumped into somebody maybe where we had an appointment in the diary and we wanted to get on, but God was giving us an opportunity to do something different and to bless somebody and to be alongside somebody. And it would happen out of the blue and we wouldn't always acknowledge it in our daily lives. And it was a really helpful thing for us to look at. And so there is a bit of that there as well. So,
Thank you, Duncan.
Well, actually, I was going to do something more today, but I think in a way there's loads in that short, brief dialogue.
Yeah.
So I'm going to save what I was going to share until tomorrow. So see you then.
See you.